What's up, everybody? It's Dark Strider, the YouTube Assassin, and over the past couple of days, I've actually put up a couple of videos that were dealing with some people's outrage in regards to Odyssey, where they believe it started, and all these problems with Odyssey started with Origins. And a lot of you actually, I asked, what made you think this? How do you feel about Origins? How do you feel about Odyssey? And a lot of you, whether you were for or against it, you all gave me some really incredible ideas and thoughts. And just, your perspective. And your opinion matters. Your perspectives actually matter. And, I took it all in and I thought, wow, like some of these people who are against it actually make some pretty good points. And of course, like I'm one of the people that believes that, it's a great game. But, some of the things that you said, I honestly couldn't argue with. But, I mean, some of you are just like, I don't know, bat guano insane. Like, I don't know, there are certain people that commented, and I don't know if they're just trolling or, if they don't understand what's going on. And, like, it made me wonder, like, what is wrong with some of these people? It's a very small percentage of these. All right? Not everybody, and not a big amount, but, there are just some people that just, I'm blown away. I'm like, wow, like, how did you survive this long? Like, let me explain. Like, one of the problems that somebody was explaining is that the game, Origins, it has problems in the fact that it is not like every other Assassin's Creed game. Now, my argument to that was, yes, it wasn't like every other Assassin's Creed game, but it had enough in it where it kept you interested. There are certain elements that you do leave out when you do a game in this time period. For instance, this person was angry that it took place in Egypt. It's a parkour game, and it's in a desert. So my rebuttal to that is, okay, yes, it's a game in a desert, but Egypt and aliens, there's so many mysteries that we've uncovered or are trying to uncover in Egypt. It's a mystical place. It's a mythical place. It's awesome. So, having it happen in Egypt, I thought was a smart move. Now, yes, there's a lot of desert. You really can't free roam off of everything, but there are enough structures for you to, like just parkour off of and stuff, especially when you come to like these cities and towns. There are places everywhere where you can parkour. Just because you can't like non-stop parkour does not mean that the game is crap. That's just unheard of. That's ridiculous. Now, the other thing that was explained to me was, okay, there's no social stealth, which, you know what, social stealth was really an awesome part of Assassin's Creed, and I did kind of enjoy that. I did enjoy being able to, like just hide amongst the crowds and like, target your prey and stab them from like a bench or anything like that. That was always cool. But, this is a time period where you're dealing with a protagonist who hasn't invented that yet. What you got to understand is that Assassin's Creed Origins is the origin of the Brotherhood. It's not the origin of the Creed. Okay? Bayek and Aya started out, they weren't even, like heroes or anything like that. They weren't assassins. They were basically vigilantes. They went out and they killed people who they believed, were oppressing good people. Okay? And that wasn't limited to guards, Templars, and authority figures. Okay? If you can remember, early on in the game, there was a mission where a woman's husband was stuck, surrounded by crocodiles. You went to go retrieve the husband, and the wife was all upset, like, welcome home, and she sent her brothers to kill the husband. And what you end up doing is killing the brothers. Now, those guys weren't guards. They were like, tax collectors or debt collectors. And it was just kind of crazy that, you ended up in this situation where you met somebody who was in trouble, and this woman was going to kill the person, so you ended up saving them. So that's vigilantism. Okay, assassins weren't created until like somewhere around like 1140 something, I believe. I don't know, but it was a Middle Eastern group, and they, for short, they became the assassins basically. And that's where the word stemmed from, and that's where the original Assassin's Creed came from. It was loosely based on that group. And, they were just real, like, political, and, they dealt with a lot of politics, a lot of religious things, a lot of philosophical things. That's what they did. And that's what they basically killed people for those reasons. And then we got the word assassin. So that's when the actual term assassins came out. Now, the technique of assassination, I mean, obviously has been around forever, but the thing is that, like, this game starts out with a grieving father and a grieving mother going to look for and kill the people responsible for their son's death. Even though, Bayek technically is responsible for his own son's death, he actually didn't intentionally do that. So this whole game, you're going out, you're killing people that you believe are responsible for your son's murder. And that's where it all happens. Now, eventually they form a group and they become a brotherhood. All right? And even in the Hidden Ones DLC, it shows that they start little bureaus here and there. Okay, so it was the beginning of the brotherhood. On top of that, whenever Bayek kills one of the main antagonists that are on his list, part of like the whole cult, he brings out one of the feathers of Senu. And that feather is basically what went on in part 1, in Assassin's Creed 1. Every time Altair killed a person, when he assassinated a target, he would use the feather as a marker to prove that he killed the person. He would wipe their blood on that feather. But in this game, it wasn't just for that purpose. It wasn't as a trophy. It was just because at that time they believed that, when you died, your heart was weighed against the weight of a feather. And if your heart was lighter than the feather, you could go into what they believed was heaven. And if the feather was, or your heart was heavier than the feather, then you went where they believed was hell. Okay, so those are the differences between like what went on in Assassin's Creed 1 and what's going on in Assassin's Creed Origins. All right, or actually similarities. You see similarities amongst them all. Okay, now okay, you can parkour over rocks, over trees, things like that. It's not like this is a completely parkourless game. On top of that, like I said, it's the beginning of the Brotherhood, not the Creed. All right, so thinking that you're coming into this game and everything is in place, that they have the Creed, they have the 3 tenets, and you have all the abilities of the assassins and everything. It's really ridiculous to think that way, because when you're playing this game, if it's an origin story, a lot of that stuff hasn't happened yet. So that's kind of like why some people wanted a Bayek sequel, because we really wanted to see what would happen as we went further. Did Bayek create the tenets? Did somebody else create the tenets? What happened with the assassins? How did the Brotherhood actually, like spread out so quickly across the globe? Did they spread out quickly across the globe? Did they hunt down artifacts? There's a lot of questions, like I say, that Origins left unwrapped, and then we got Odyssey. So, that's part of my issue with Odyssey. But like I keep saying, I will still play it because the game looks beautiful, and I want to see where we go from there. Now, yes, in Odyssey, there is no hidden blade. All right, there's no semblance of a lot of freaking different things that are staples in Assassin's Creed. But the thing is that we don't know what's going on. So, you know, like I want to play the game and I want to see what they do. Just because they don't tell us that, like, you know, we're going to have hidden blades and stuff like that doesn't mean that they come to pass in that game. You never know. Like, part of the thing, if you look at the underground temple that they have over in Monterione in Assassin's Creed 2, it actually says that Darius, who's a Persian, was the first person to use the hidden blade, and that he used it on Cersei's. So, you know, I thought that maybe Assassin's Creed Odyssey was going to be that story, but it's not. So there's a lot of surprises and a lot of weird things to me that I would like to see go on. I would like to see, like, how are we going to explain that? How do we retcon what we've seen in the basement, you know, of all these assassins and stuff like that? Obviously, still during Darius's time, there still wasn't an actual assassin. You know, they didn't actually use the word assassins. And I'm pretty sure he was a vigilante as well. So there's a lot of different things that and questions that I needed answered. And we'll see what happens in Odyssey if my questions get answered. And I'll definitely let you know. But to think that we're coming into a game and it takes part or place in the past, it's kind of ridiculous to believe that automatically every single aspect of the game would be there. Now, I argued with somebody and they said, well, you know, that makes no sense, because if you're going to be, you know, if it's going to be an Assassin's Creed game, you have to have all these things in place. And my thing is, it's an origin story. Okay? Even the Templars, if they give us a Templar origin story, they're not going to be called Templars. They're not going to be, you know, like half the things that they are today, half the things that we're used to. You know, first of all, when you start small like this, if this was like real life, Bayek would be starting small and he would be making it up as he goes along. He makes up the rules of the assassins as he goes along. Right now, they're just the hidden ones. Right now, they work in the shadows to serve the light. And that's about it. But they don't have, like, and they do have structure. They do have bureaus, but they don't have these tenets. So they're basically going out and you know, basically committing crimes. It's vigilantism. They're going out and murdering people. That's what they're doing. Not to say that the assassins aren't vigilantes either, you know, like in later games, but that's basically what's going on here. So you can't even call them assassins. And that was actually one of the big arguments that some people had about Origins, is that they can't possibly be assassins because, you know, assassins weren't created until like way later. That's where we got the word from, and so on and so on. And, you know, it actually made a lot of sense. So yes, Bayek is not an assassin, okay? But he did begin the Brotherhood. So that's where we're going with that. Now, like I said, if you start something, you can't expect everything to happen immediately. When Abner Doubleday invented baseball, he started out with a stick, a ball, and then started making up rules as he went along. And then, you know, he threw bases in it. You know, you had to go to this position if you wanted to, like, have a chance of getting this person out, and so on and so on. And then, you know, obviously the game got national attention, and it became a professional sport eventually. Okay? You can't expect that Abner Doubleday, when he was alive in New York, I think it was about like 1948, something like that. You can't expect that immediately when he started like creating this game, that he thought, you know what, we're going to do this, the other thing, this thing, and, you know, we're going to have $18 million contracts and all this stuff. You know, it doesn't happen that way. And it's pure folly to believe that that happens that way. You know, the games are about history, and you have to understand the history of that time period. You can't just go into the game and say, wow, I'm in ancient Egypt. You know, I should have all the powers and everything of all the assassins. I mean, Bayek doesn't even have eagle vision. And part of that is, from what we find out later, that Desmond and his line have DNA of the first civilization. That's where they get the eagle vision from. All right, now, you know, every protagonist in Assassin's Creed, you know, is not related to Desmond, but, you know, maybe they are also half or with pieces of first Civ blood in them, and that's how they have eagle vision. Bayek was just a regular dude, so he had an actual eagle. You know, so maybe they you know, called this way of seeing eagle vision based on, you know, like Bayek and him actually using eagles. You know, there are so many things like that, and you have to kind of fill in the blanks on some. You have to take certain things with a grain of salt, and other things you gotta just accept that, you know, this is a possibility, and this is within the realm of possibility. Okay, we can't have Bayek flying and stuff like that. That wouldn't make sense. Okay, he would be like a super assassin or something like that. That would be nonsensical. Okay, but you make him an ordinary man, you give him ordinary strengths and weaknesses, and certain things he's able to do, certain things he's not able to do, and certain things he's doing, he's making up as he goes along. You know, even the outfits that Bayek and Aya wear are similar to the outfits that you see in Assassin's Creed, the very first game. All right? Why do they have these outfits? Most likely, that's how they started out. They started out hiding in the shadows. Okay? Then they started making up tenets because maybe certain things went down. And they were just like, you know what? We kind of need some rules. We can't just have you running around like an idiot, murdering everybody you see. You know? There's certain things that you have to accept, and certain things that you have to let go when you're dealing with any game. All right? On top of all this, yes, a lot of these programmers and these games and everything in franchises are for financial gain. But you're not going to get any sort of gains if you're just pissing off your audience. When Assassin's Creed, the original one, came out, it was well received. People obviously liked it. And then they made a sequel. And then they kept making sequels. By the time we got to Syndicate, people were burnt out. They weren't happy. They were kind of upset. You know, Ubisoft could do better. So they took off some time, and then they came out with Origins. And yes, Origins is not something we're used to, but, you know, if you want to actually continue, if you want to make a franchise, if you want to be successful, you do have to make some changes, and you do have to catch some interest. Part of what I said to this person was, hey, you know, you have to make certain changes and you have to have certain sacrifices in order to succeed. And that person was like, no, that doesn't make sense. Why would you need to sacrifice anything when we're used to this all the way? Well, you know, we are used to this all the way, but sometimes you have to make minor tweaks. Like I said in a previous video, Call of Duty is pretty much the same. It's just different maps. Every game is pretty much the same. They don't really change up the formula. They don't really do anything different, except like locations and stuff like that. But the thing is that it's a successful series because of the fans. All right? Now, this game series, Assassin's Creed, is a series where you can't stay in the same spot twice. Okay? You could come back. That's cool. But you can't expect Assassin's Creed to actually succeed if it stays in one place, if it stays in one locale. If it stays in Egypt, people are going to get bored. If it goes, you know, to different areas and whatnot, people get excited. It's interesting. You can't have Assassin's Creed stay purely in one spot. So that's a change. You can't have Assassin's Creed with the same exact assassin. That gets boring, and, you know, people get aggravated. It's just like, you know, Ezio, he had his 3 games, and then his time was done. And, you know, a lot of people enjoyed Ezio, but he did need to have his time end. It had to end. He had to, like, you know, we had to get new assassins and new people and new stories. We couldn't stay in you know, Venice or Italy this whole time. We had to move. All right? That's what successful games do. They change, they evolve, they get different. Pokemon has been around forever. Pokemon, there's like probably like a billion Pokemon right now. A billion different Pokemon. And the thing is that, you know, yeah, you love your little Pikachus and stuff like that, but guess what? You gotta change up the Pokemon, you gotta switch them up, you gotta introduce new ones, because people are gonna get bored with the same old ones. People want to see new things. You know? Mario Brothers. When Super Mario Brothers came out, you know, it was an exciting game. And obviously they went to make a sequel. When they made the sequel was different.
Whoa.
When they made 3 was similar to 1, but yet different enough. They were different power-ups. Super Mario World, tons of new power-ups. You know, totally different world. Totally different way of playing the game. Mario 64, everything in 3D. Still a platformer technically, but everything in 3D and everything interesting. The game evolves. You have to evolve. You cannot stay the same. And the thing is that when you do an origin story, you have to accept that there are going to be certain elements missing from the game, because technically and chronologically it has not happened yet. So, you know, like, you have to accept that. I mean, if you don't accept it, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if you're ever going to enjoy any game. Or maybe you just, you know, you just enjoy a certain particular type of game. You know, but I tell you what, you're not going to enjoy Assassin's Creed if you don't accept that certain things change in the game. And I'm not just talking assassins being different. I'm talking, you know, concept, and it's always going to change. Now, Odyssey, yes. Odyssey throw me for a loop because it's just completely different. If Origins was the beginning, why are we going further back than the beginning? You know, on top of that, you know, it has nothing to do basically with assassins. It has to do with, you know, Spartan soldiers and things of that nature. Doesn't have anything to do with assassins. Yeah, you can still wear a hood and everything like that if you want to, but why would a soldier really wear a hood? They're going to wear helmets. I don't think they're going to show up to a battlefield wearing a hood. You know, and these are things that, like, this is part of why I want to play this game, and I want to see where they go with it. I want to see how they end up doing it. It actually interests me that even though I don't like the premise and I don't like the ideas displayed in the game, it still interests me enough where I want to see how they explain a lot of stuff. And that's a valid argument, okay, whether you're for Odyssey or against it. All right, honestly, I'm going to give it a shot. But when we go into that time period, I can accept that there's no Hidden Blade because they're technically not assassins. And they didn't start the Brotherhood. So this is like a kind of a side story or something like that. You know? It's not an origin story. And really, you know, it is kind of confusing. That's why I tell you all the time, like, you know, I'm definitely going to play this game because I have an interest. I really want to see, you know, what goes on here. But at the same time, I'm not expecting there to be a Hidden Blade. I'm not expecting there to be an Assassin's Bureau. I'm not expecting, you know, them to know the tenets of the Assassin's Creed. Okay? I'm expecting a high-octane action game. I'm expecting, you know, like some just vicious and savage battling action with my homegirl Cassandra as we take on an enemy empire, and maybe there are Templars. Maybe there are Templars. There's definitely going to be a lot of First Civ stuff going on in there. So, again, we'll see how that goes. But, again, you cannot have a story in any game that, you know, if it's chronologically ordered, you cannot expect things that are happening in the year 2000 to be happening in the year 49 BC. That is just complete folly. So, you know, if your argument is that they don't have the creed, they don't have certain things that can easily be explained by the time period, and, you know, that this is the origin of those stories, you know, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, if you can't accept that, I don't know, you know. I mean, it's all about time. It's all about the era, the time period. This is the origin, not the origin of the creed, the origin of the brotherhood. The creed came later. The brotherhood, the symbols, that's what's going on here. And that's what you got to look at. That's how you got to, like, approach this. All right? But, like I said, you're entitled to your opinion. So your views on Assassin's Creed Origins, whether good or bad, you know, they do have a lot of validity. And sometimes things that you say may be absolutely phenomenal and something that someone did not think of. So if they're a diehard fan, maybe, you know, you show them something that has them scratching their head like, oh man, I didn't even think of that. That's a good point, you know? And if you don't like the series, or this game in particular, and a fan explains something to you, you know, it's okay to say, you know what? That makes sense. That actually brings new light to what I'm seeing. You know, feel free to debate and everything like that. There's nothing wrong with debate. There's a lot wrong with people that, you know, always have to be right, and you just have to accept what they're saying as fact when they're not speaking any facts. You know, everything that I just told you right now is not opinion. Everything that I told you about this being the beginning of the brotherhood and not the assassins, or the creed actually. And yeah, even the assassins, they're not assassins yet. Okay, that's all steeped in fact. You could look that up. All right? The parts about me liking the game, that's opinion. Parts of me saying, you know, like, hey, you know, when you go into this game, there are certain things that you have to accept, such as the time period and the fact that assassins weren't around, and the fact that, you know, this is Bayek starting out, and he really hasn't formulated what, you know, the brotherhood means, what the creed is, and things like that. You have to accept that that stuff hasn't happened yet. So, you know, like, I'm just giving you a little food for thought, just because, you know, like, a couple of people, like, I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know why they would come into the comment section and instead of trying to debate their point, come in with the whole mentality, I'm right, you're wrong, this is how it is, your idea sucks. You know, it just, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. If you're going to come into the discussions and you're going to come into the chats, you know, feel free to, like, leave your opinion. You know, but if you have somebody that doesn't agree with your opinion, please don't call them stupid or anything like that. Don't, you know, tell them that they're completely wrong and their ideas are asinine or anything like that, because, you know, honestly, me personally, I value everyone's opinion. All right? Even if you disagree with me, I still value your opinion. You know, that's part of what I love about my channel, is that, like, so many of you really, you know, put me to the test. You guys, you know, not only do you listen to what I have to say, but you put your ideas out, and I appreciate your ideas. I love to hear from you. And I love to see, you know, like, when you guys have a point or you guys have a suggestion, that's always awesome, because it really brings more to the table. It brings more, you know, to the discussion. And I love that. I love when I see stuff and I'm just like, holy crap, look at this. You know, so by all means, if you have something to say, you feel free to comment on my channel. I love that. I love to hear from you. I love to see what you have to say. All right? But please, you know, like I say, do it in a respectful way. Don't attack people. You know, don't attack their ideas. And, you know, if you're going to debate, definitely drop facts. You know, or if you have an opinion, please let us know that it's an opinion. You know, and you're entitled to your opinion. You are. All right? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. All right? And definitely comment. That helps the channel even more. I want to hear from you. I want to know, What do you actually think of Origins? What do you think of Odyssey? Do you think that if they do games that are kind of like prequels, kind of like the origin story is a prequel, do you think that they should have certain elements in place? Do you like prequels? Or do you feel that like prequels are a waste of time? Do you feel like, you know, what's the history of the game? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching.